I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
Hello, friends. There's no better way to start the day than flying low and at maximum military power to make an express delivery of Ukrainian hospitality to the invaders. Take this little gift, Ivan. This is worrying. At the port of Odessa, a naval drone from the Horde was detected trying to enter the bay, probably to attack one of the warships or cargo ships inside the port. However, it was detected and destroyed by the city's defenses. It's not good news that Ivan is trying to imitate the tactics of the Ukrainian Navy. To lift our spirits, in this footage we see how a Ukrainian Shark-type reconnaissance drone detects the presence of an SA-10 anti-aircraft system, a low-altitude air defense system. The drone starts to follow it as it moves into its combat position next to a tree line. This moment provides a perfect opportunity for a pair of HIMARS rockets to proceed to deputinize the vehicle, as well as its entire crew, using a hail of tungsten balls. Another one bites the dust. A few days ago, the command of the 1st Army Corps reported that they had fire control over the supply routes running in and around Donetsk. Combat operations over the city have continued day after day, night after night. To counter this wave of attacks from the Azov Mosquitoes, the invaders have deployed multiple air defense systems and a large number of mobile fire groups armed with heavy machine guns mounted on pickup trucks. But instead of protecting their rear, the illegal tourists have become the targets of the FP-1 and FP-2 Mosquitoes, which are now actively hunting them down every time they reveal their presence with their spotlights or tracer rounds, drawing the attackers to converge on them and neutralize them. The video shows the fierce fighting between both forces during the nights in Donetsk, as well as successful attacks against Russian personnel, weapons, and equipment. The goal is to quickly eliminate all active defenses in the area, to pave the way for new waves of Mosquitoes, whose goal is to isolate the city and stop supplies for the Horde passing through. And speaking of that, here's an example, because on April 22, the FP-2 Mosquito operators from the SOV Brigade launched a precision strike to destroy a command post and a base of the Mobile Operations Directorate of the Federal Security Service of Russia inside the city of Donetsk. To carry out the mission, 8 FP-2 drones, each carrying a 60-kilogram high-explosive warhead, conducted 2 raids at 8 a.m. local time. According to Ukrainian military intelligence and the commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces, Robert Magyar Brovdy, the attack eliminated 12 FSB officers and wounded another 15. The unit that was attacked was responsible for sabotage operations, arson at key facilities, recruiting agents, and dirty war operations inside Ukraine, as well as in the occupied territories. This attack eliminated a key node of the invaders' asymmetric warfare apparatus, the one operating from the heart of the city of Donetsk, Brovdy stated. But now the Special Forces, FSD, will no longer coordinate attacks, arrests, or eliminations from this position. I think that after seeing these attacks, we can agree that the airspace over the city is now being patrolled with increasing freedom by the defenders' swarm of Mosquitoes. The Mosquitoes from the 3rd Spartan Operational Brigade encounter a group of invaders unloading supplies from a transport vehicle. So they launch a loitering munition that doesn't go for the vehicle, it goes for them. Another Bukanka is making another logistics run and also receives the attention that every illegal tourist deserves. The Spartan operators are using a combination of loitering munitions and attack Mosquitoes that work together in a coordinated way to take out all the transport vehicles of the horde. Very efficiently, I might add. And speaking of hospitality, a reconnaissance Mosquito identified the position of a team of drone operators from the horde that had set up in the basement of a house a few kilometers from the front lines. It was an ideal target for the Ukrainian Air Force, which dropped a single French Hammer precision bomb as a gift. The secondary explosions confirmed that something undesirable was hiding in that place. The nights in the Lyman Forest bring nightmares and horrors to all the orcs who venture into its depths, because the Signum unit's Mosquitoes patrol at night, which was formed as a volunteer military unit in February 2022, actively participating in the defense of Kiev in the battles for Moshun, Irpin, Velika, Demirka, and Lukyanivka. In April 2022, as a volunteer military unit, Signum joined as reinforcement to the 93rd Mechanized Brigade Kolodny Yar, near Izium, participating in battles for the villages of Zabody and Mazanivka. In June 2022,
Los combatientes de Signum hicieron historia.
Since they were the first to successfully use a first-person controlled kamikaze attack drone. In August of that year, the unit was formally integrated into the 93rd Brigade, with whom they fought intensely in the battles of Soledad and Bakhmut, where they stood out for not giving up their positions. Years have passed and the unit continues to plague their days and haunt the nightmares of the Z invaders. On the technological front, a new version of the Ukrainian Deep Strike cruise missile, Ruda Block 2, which offers substantial improvements over the original version in range, stealth, combat payload, and navigation systems, has been officially unveiled by the company Destinus in the Netherlands. Building on the Ruda's proven combat performance, Block 1, which is a hybrid between a missile and a drone, has been used by the Defense Forces since 2024, who have actively employed it in attacks against Russian military targets. The Block 2 variant represents a significant advancement, as it features a 250-kilogram warhead, a range of over 700 kilometers, can fly at low altitude following the terrain, and has terminal electro-optical and infrared guidance to resist electronic interference from the horde. These improvements allow for more effective penetration of layered air defenses and navigation to its target, even without satellite positioning signal. In addition, the stealthier structure of the Block 2, its folding wings, its inline engine, and its multi-mode guidance system, powered by artificial intelligence, will further enhance Ukraine's long-range strike capabilities.
Destinus.
Protection, those that affect humanity. The EL2, important too, the Rheinmetall Destinus Strike Systems joint venture will mass-produce advanced missile systems starting from the second half of 2026, some of which will be sent to Ukraine, which I suppose will send them by express delivery to the ports of the invading horde. Ukraine, that's all I had for you today. I hope you're doing very well and have an excellent day. Hello, friends. You know I have a soft spot for the Army's aviation units and their tireless work assisting their infantry colleagues by pounding illegal tourists. In this case, a Mi-8 HIP sends a full serving of 70mm rockets for Ivan to eat them all up. It's a shame they still have to operate ex-Soviet helicopters. Come on, Some ally must have a few Black Hawks to spare. It's a shame that ex-helicopters, in this case 008, are sent to rest and take care of their comrades. As good hosts, the defenders send a mosquito that bothers everyone. They all agree that the mission was more than accomplished. The Mosquito Operators Unit of the Special Operations Group of the Ukrainian Security Service shared a 4K recording of their swarm's interactions with multiple invaders. Along with the video, the unit reported that during just 1 week of operating at the front, they were able to provide personalized attention to no less than 2,812 illegal tourists. Those who received a lethal dose of Ukrainian hospitality, all of whom were documented in high-quality video. This is a group that definitely won't reach Kyiv in 3 days. The quality of the footage is remarkable, which indicates that fiber optic-controlled drones are already operating en masse on the various fronts of combat. The group of Luftwaffe drone operators published footage from a thermal camera showing the strike they carried out on a Federation rocket launcher system, Mordarita Tornado S, which is the modernization of the BM-30 Smerch 300mm, which was moving along a road between the Crimean Peninsula and Neloblastes to Perilla. Upon detecting the tornado convoy, the drone performs a maneuver to align its attack axis with the movement of the invaders. After that, it passes over 2 air defense vehicles equipped with twin 23mm ZSU cannons, whose task was supposedly to protect the valuable tornado. Obviously, Ivan was smoking because none of them even tried to fire at the Raider, which managed to reach its target and send it to the next time zone. The Tornado S is a high-value system for the invaders, as it can launch rockets guided by the GLONASS positioning system. These have a range of up to 120 kilometers, which allows them to accurately strike cities and positions in the defender's rear. It is classified as a rare and dangerous system due to its modernization and deep strike capability, which is why its destruction is a priority for all drone units. In this footage, we see an attempted offensive by a group of orcs riding a tank, with a troop transport carrying anti-drone boxes. But they didn't expect the defenders to have an anti-tank missile, giving the tank just the right dose of persuasion to stop them from advancing. In fact, the transport remembered it had left something in the oven back at the base and began a quick strategic retreat from the area. Good decision, Ivan. The only downside to the video was missing a turret launch. Maybe next time. On the logistics front, on April 22, 2026, Belgian media reported that their government will buy back 15 self-propelled anti-aircraft vehicles, Gepard, from the company OIB Land Systems, which is the Belgian subsidiary of the Israeli group Elbit, to be refurbished and later transferred to Ukraine. Belgium operated 54 Gepard units, which were retired from service in the 2000s and sold to the company Saviex, which was later absorbed by OIB, and they remained stored for about 20 years. Gepards are tracked vehicles equipped with 2 35mm automatic cannons and radar, ideal for short-range air defense against drones, helicopters, and low-altitude missiles. In Ukraine, they have proven to be highly effective against cruise missiles and Shahed attack drones that the Horde launches every night against the defenders. The reactivation program includes new batteries, inspection and upgrade of the systems, fire control systems, radar, and mobility. This measure is part of a Belgian military aid package worth €1 billion that was approved at the beginning of April 2026. And which I believe is a response to the growing criticism of Belgium for not having delivered even a single F-16 to Ukraine out of the 30 it had committed to. At the same time, and as part of the same aid package, the Belgian company John Cockerell Defense confirmed that it will begin supplying 30 Cockerell 31 05 turrets of 105mm to modernize the same number of Ukrainian Leopard 1 tanks. This is a turret with a high-pressure cannon, an automatic loading system, and indirect fire capability that reduces the crew and improves fire flexibility. A prototype was tested in Ukraine during the year 2025, during which it appears to have performed outstandingly. On the naval front, the Ukrainian Navy has officially confirmed its readiness to deploy at least 2 NATO-certified minesweepers to the Persian Gulf. These will be crewed by Ukrainian sailors with extensive combat experience to support the international effort to clear mines from the Strait of Hormuz. The ships are currently at the Royal Navy base in Portsmouth, United Kingdom, preparing to join Ukraine's division of 5 minesweepers. They have been equipped with advanced underwater drones for the detection, identification, and neutralization of underwater threats. Their crews have received specialized training and have participated in multinational exercises, such as Sea Breeze, successfully passing interoperability assessments with NATO. The spokesperson for the Ukrainian Navy, Dmytro Pletenchuk, emphasized that our experience is unique. We are probably one of the few countries with experience in demining under real combat conditions. That experience can't be bought, it can only be gained in combat, and we have it. This offer comes as part of a multinational planning summit, attended by representatives from more than 30 countries, to define how to restore commercial navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. Ukrainian naval officers actively participated in the planning process, which was led by the United Kingdom and France. By June 2026, Ukraine will have 5 ships of this type, donated by the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Belgium. Currently, these ships cannot transit through the Black Sea due to operational risks and the restrictions imposed by the Montreux Convention. This is a concrete show of solidarity from Ukraine with the rest of the international community, which clearly contrasts with the actions of the Z Federation, which is actively delivering weapons to the Iranian regime. It's remarkable how the defenders have become a nation that contributes to global stability while still defending their sovereignty. The only one who doesn't seem interested in the offer is Donald Trump, for whom it would undoubtedly be a humiliation to see ships from the nation he has continuously disparaged come to help him out of the mess he got himself into. To conclude, the Base Protection Patrol reports in to deliver its all-clear report on the perimeter and to collect their well-deserved ration of cookies as a reward. It's remarkable they send the patrol lieutenant to deliver the report. How do I know? He's the least experienced pup in the patrol. Hello, friends. Spring has already arrived at the front, and the Horde's heavy tulip mortars are showing up more often. And sometimes their crews even leave them without camouflage. That's great news for the Defender's artillery, because when they get confirmation of their position coordinates, they immediately send their greetings. In the form of a 155mm GPS-guided Excalibur round, which with a single hit manages to send the Hulk to the metal recycler. A swarm of fiber optic guided drones from the 414th Unmanned Systems Brigade infiltrates the invader's rear, and one of them makes its way to the door of an agricultural warehouse to inspect it. Upon entering the facility, his colleague comes across a juicy target of opportunity. Nothing more, nothing less than a turtle tank and a Z infantry transport, which had its door left open, so it gets the grand prize, shaking all the dust off the facility. Both vehicles were destroyed by the fire caused when the transport ignited its ammunition. According to Ukrainian sources, a MiG-29 fighter jet from the Ukrainian Air Force carried out a precision strike against a Russian ammunition depot and personnel concentrations in the occupied town of Polohi in the Zaporizhzhia region. The target was hit with GBU-62 guided bombs, designed to be compatible with Soviet-made aircraft. The targeting footage shows the direct impact followed by a powerful secondary explosion, thick smoke, and the visible destruction of structures, vehicles, and logistical material. Ukrainian sources indicate that Russian air defenses in the area were previously suppressed, mainly with AGM-88 HARM missiles. The operators of the Signum unit present us with another summary of their encounters with the invaders' infantry on the Lyman front, who don't seem to be at all pleased with so much tension. So they immediately take to their heels or try to take cover in buildings or among the vegetation without much success. It must be quite terrifying to have a flying anti-tank mine relentlessly chasing you through forests and destroyed settlements. But well, nobody invited them to come to Ukraine, so now all they can do is move those legs and run faster. For that reason, going after the drone operators of the invaders is a priority. But to optimize the effort, the Mosquitoes went for the warehouse, where the Rubicon Center stored the ammunition for their attack drones, which caught fire, so they'll have to ask the rear to send them more if they want to keep working. The funniest thing is that the Russians filming the secondary explosions seem to find the whole situation very amusing. I think we all agree with them on that. Thank you. In this footage, a drone operator from the Phoenix unit of the Border Guard, operating at the front on the Huliaipol front, spots a moving truck that's completely loaded with illegal tourists. Counting himself lucky, and without hesitation he sent his bird toward the target, achieving a historic result as he neutralized all 11 occupants and disabled the truck, which ended up engulfed in flames. This job will earn a lot of points on the Brave One platform for this operator and his unit. The operators of the Merchiki unit from the 57th Motorized Infantry Brigade literally went on a safari in the rear of the horde to deputinize the transport quads that the invaders were using in the area. They accomplished the mission thoroughly, also taking care of several of the drivers and passengers of these vehicles. Some encounters were truly remarkable, but unfortunately, some invaders were too quick and managed to escape Putin's kiss. Honestly, there weren't many. At the end of the day, 8 quads were sent to the scrapyard, with a similar number of drivers and passengers to accompany them. All in all, a good day's work for the 57th Brigade. This is less visually spectacular, but very relevant for the infantry on the front line, since the operators of the 425th Unmanned Systems Regiment launched a blitz offensive and destroyed more than 300 communication and control antennas of the horde in the Pokrovsk area. This stopped them from launching drones while replacing them. This gave a window of opportunity for the ground forces to carry out rotations and resupply the frontline positions. It's impressive they identified so many antennas and attacked them nearly simultaneously. Let's hope that these kinds of operations become more frequent, as that will give the defenders temporary air superiority over the battlefront. On the Black Sea front, the defenders carried out a new attack in Crimea, hitting 3 Russian vessels, including the Yamal landing ship of the Rapucha class and the Nikolai Filchenkov of the Alligator class, as well as the intelligence ship Ivan Kurs. The Yamal has not left Sevastopol since it was hit by a Storm Shadow missile in 2024. It was also hit by a Mosquito FP2 on April 19th. Therefore, this would be the second recent attack against this ship, so it was probably about to return to service. The Nikolai Filchenkov, as far as is known, was fully operational. It was also attacked on April 19th. The fact that Ivan the pirate left it in Sevastopol instead of moving it to Novorossiysk along with the rest of the Black Sea Fleet suggests that the damage was significant. This ship appears to be the main target in this attack, and it is likely that it suffered additional damage that will keep it out of service. The Ivan Kurs was also attacked and hit by Storm Shadow missiles in the same 2024 attack that struck the Yamal. Later satellite images showed a hole on the deck, the ship listing, and being assisted by another nearby vessel. It appeared to have been close to capsizing. Russia said there was no damage. But again, the fact that it hasn't left Sevastopol since then suggests it was seriously affected, and that the invaders don't have the capability in that port to fully repair it. On the same day, at the Belbek Air Base, another key target was hit. In this case, it was a MiG-31 fighter jet, which is used to launch Kinzhal hypersonic missiles, making it a high-value target. Additionally, at Belbek, a drone operator training center was also hit. We don't have the full video yet, but as soon as it's released, we'll share it with you. To conclude, high-resolution satellite images published on the 26th reveal extensive damage to the tank farm at the Russian Tuapse oil refinery, following the Ukrainian attacks on April 16th and 20th. Analysis of the images indicates that at least 24 out of approximately 47 storage tanks were destroyed, and another 4 were damaged, representing more than half of the facility's fuel storage capacity. Key supporting infrastructure, including pumping stations, rail loading ramps, pipelines, and connections, also suffered significant damage. The main processing units of the refinery appear virtually intact in the images, but the destruction of the storage and logistics nodes has paralyzed operations. Anyone want to bet we'll soon see another visit by Ukrainian forces to this refinery? Hello friends, a couple of Mi-24 gunships from the Ukrainian Army Aviation are escorting a Mi-17 Chaipi transport helicopter. The coordinated work of the aviation crews is an example of true resilience and mutual trust. Each mission is the result of precise coordination, joint actions, and instant decisions on which lives and the success of operations depend. Always flying together to face everything from the simplest supply transport missions to the most dangerous attacks on the invaders' lines. Speaking of aerial combat, an invader made a flawless takeoff on his motorcycle, but was intercepted mid-flight by the Mosquito that brought him the message. And the message, as you already know, is boom. Definitely the most impressive code 200 for an invader in weeks. Congratulations on unlocking a new level. But the Ray Rock unit didn't stop there, and here it shows us another example of its work in a video whose editing I wish I'd done for the channel. Truly remarkable is the number of neutralizations that this experienced team of Mosquito operators shares with all of us. Quads seem to have become very popular among the invaders, adding to the large number of motorcycles they also use to move quickly from position to position. But the ammunition transports also get their share, like this one, which went into party mode right next to an invader's burrow. Another orc fulfills his wish to become a cosmonaut. We stay in the air, where a Durand III jet drone from the Horde is neutralized in flight by a Ukrainian Sting interceptor. This is no small matter because it is the Sting 2.0 version developed specifically by the Wild Hornets Collective to achieve higher speeds without losing range, which is important in order to face the jet-powered Durand drones, which are faster than the piston engine versions. It's curious to see how several panels of the Bitra Z seem to have come off the aircraft, a sample of Mordor manufacturing. This is new. The defenders are now using their Mosquitoes to carry and stack anti-tank mines under a bridge inside Horde territory, and then detonate them using a kamikaze Mosquito. These little guys now do almost everything. All that's left is for them to pick up a rifle and start marching. Oh wait. Find in the area. A ground drone from the Cerberus unit belonging to the 3rd Army Corps carried out an unusual evacuation from the gray zone, where, to their surprise, they saw a 77-year-old Ukrainian woman from Lyman who was fleeing after her house where she had lived for 53 years, was destroyed by the Russians. The brigade's drone operators spotted the elderly woman struggling to walk along a road full of shell craters, and according to reports, next to the bodies of other villagers. The woman, who had lived in her village house for 53 years, had been walking for several hours with canes and without any hope of survival. To avoid frightening her, the soldiers sent an unmanned ground robot covered with a blanket on which they wrote in Ukrainian, "Grandma, get on." The woman trusted the message, got on the robot, and was carefully transported for 4 hours to a safe area, where the soldiers met her and helped evacuate her to the rear, where she was reunited with other residents of her village, with whom she was transported out of the combat zone. A year ago, an evacuation like this would have been considered science fiction. Now it's just another Monday. During the night of April 27 to 28, 2026, FP-2 Mosquito drones from the Ukrainian Special Operations Forces carried out a surprise attack on a storage site for Russian Iskander tactical missile systems in Crimea. The target was located on the territory of a former missile base near the settlement of Obrasky, about 40 kilometers east of Sinfarovia. From this location, Russian missiles could reach the front line or cities in the Ukrainian rear in just a few minutes, which is why it was urgent to destroy them. However, the invaders had hidden the launchers and missiles in reinforced concrete bunkers. The visible damage in the video suggests that the drones did not have enough penetrating power to destroy these heavily fortified targets. This highlights a limitation shared by all attack drones with piston engines. Their low speed and limited kinetic energy unfortunately make them less effective against reinforced structures and highly protected infrastructure. To achieve maximum effectiveness against this type of target, combined attacks of drones and missiles are required, with the former paving the way and the latter taking out the targets with a heavier combat payload delivered at high speed. However, this rarely happens due to the limited number of long-range missiles available in the arsenal. On the sanctions front against the oil industry, during the night of April 27th to 28th, the defenders launched a new attack on the Tuapse refinery, owned by Rosneft and located on the Black Sea coast. This is the third raid against the same facility in less than 2 weeks. The impacts caused a large-scale fire that got out of control, with explosions in storage tanks and flames visible in the main processing complex. It was an area untouched by previous attacks. Videos and local reports show thick columns of black smoke rising from multiple points of the refinery, including the core of the plant. Russian authorities declared a state of emergency in the area, evacuated nearby buildings, and recommended that residents stay indoors with windows closed due to the toxic smoke. The Tuapse refinery has, or rather had, a capacity of around several million tons per year, and is mainly focused on the production of fuels for export. After the previous attacks, it was already out of operation, but with the damage to the storage tanks and possibly the processing facilities, I think we can consider it dead now. Interestingly, the Kremlin acknowledged the incident, which is unusual, but attributed the fire to debris from downed drones. On the logistics front, on April 28, 2026, the government of Latvia approved the transfer of additional CVRT-tracked armored reconnaissance vehicles, or combat vehicle reconnaissance, to the armed forces of Ukraine. Latvia had 210 units of the system, of which they have already donated 21 Scimitar vehicles, which is the combat version armed with a 30mm Rarden automatic cannon. The CVRTs are British light vehicles that can reach speeds of up to 80 kilometers per hour. Maximum speed, highly maneuverable, and with good mobility on difficult terrain, and they are being replaced by Ascot II Hunter infantry vehicles. The Latvian units received upgrades that included a new diesel engine, additional armor, and modern fire control systems. According to Latvian sources, the batch would be enough to equip a battalion, so it should be between 21 and 31 units, which is the standard size of a Ukrainian mechanized battalion. To finish, today's message of wisdom for Parabellum. If one day you feel like you're useless, just remember this Russian drone banging its head against a Ukrainian FMTV truck without being able to explode. Isn't it beautiful? Hello, friends. This must be one of the most stressful missions for a combat engineer, preparing a CAP 500 glide bomb that didn't detonate to be destroyed by a demolition charge. Once the timer on the charge is activated, the engineer gets out of there fast. And when seeing the explosion of the ammunition, one perfectly understands that he wants to put as much distance as possible between himself and the bomb. Imagine one of those falling directly on a defender's position. That explains why Ivan uses them so heavily in his attacks. This is an extraordinary footage for multiple reasons. On April 29, 2026, Mosquito operators from the 429th Unmanned Systems Regiment, Achilles carried out a long-range drone attack against 2 Russian military helicopters at a field airfield in the Voronezh region, Russia, which is more than 150 kilometers away. I mean, we're talking about deep in Ivan's rear lines. According to Commander Robert Magyar Brovdi, the target was a forward airfield where 4 Mi-28 attack helicopters and Mi-17 transport helicopters were refueling and undergoing technical checks between their missions over the front. When they reached their target, the Mosquitoes found 2 aircraft, one of which was a Mi-17 transport helicopter with a mechanic working on it, so the Mosquito descended for surveillance.
Todo quedara completamente destruido.
The second Mosquito of the swarm headed for a Mi-28 Alligator, but the mechanic who was servicing it managed to carry out a strategic evacuation, avoiding the impact. The Mi-17 is a multi-purpose helicopter used by the Russians for transporting personnel and cargo, as well as providing fire support to units. The estimated cost of an aircraft is at least $6 million. The Mi-28 is an attack helicopter designed to engage armored vehicles and troops. Its armored cockpit allows it to operate under heavy fire, and the estimated cost is around $18 million. I think we can say that being 150 kilometers from the front is no longer good for Ivan's health. Speaking of the health of the Z Armed Forces, on April 28, 2026, the Ministry of Defense of Russia announced that the traditional victory parade on May 9 in Moscow's Red Square, which commemorates the anniversary of the Soviet victory in World War II, will be held without the usual column of tanks, artillery, missiles, and other heavy equipment, nor with the participation of cadets from Mortarite military schools. I think the reasons are obvious to everyone, but the Z Ministry of Defense simply said it was due to the current operational situation without giving further details. The Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov attributed the decision to security measures in response to an alleged terrorist threat from Ukraine, arguing that Kiev has intensified these types of attacks while losing ground on the front. The parade will feature a column of infantry troops and possibly a limited aerial display. This is the first time since the large-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022 and the first time in almost 2 decades that the parade is being held without heavy military equipment. Well, if Putin wants, he could ask Zelensky for help, who has a growing collection of Z vehicles, which I'm sure the president would be happy to parade around Moscow. This is a story of public and private collaboration, as the government gave its authorization for private companies to create their own air defense groups in order to protect industrial facilities and critical infrastructure. So far, 20 companies have already registered, of which 2 offer air defense services for industrial enterprises. These groups use layered protection systems, which include interceptor drones and automated turrets equipped with M2 Browning heavy machine guns. The companies must obtain approval from the Ministry of Defense, integrate into the command and control system of the Ukrainian Air Force, subject their personnel to rigorous checks, and offer training programs of approximately 3 weeks for their interceptor drone operators. The initiative originated as a pilot project approved in November 2025, which allowed companies from key sectors, such as energy, transportation, communications, and critical infrastructure, to form air defense units operated by civilian personnel, but under strict military supervision. In March 2026, the government extended the program, announcing modifications that allowed the creation of air defense groups that would receive weapons from the state to operate as part of the unified air defense system. The main goal is to ease the burden on the regular military units of the force
y aumentar la cobertura localizada de instalaciones específicas. Ucrania enfrenta ataques rusos casi diarios de hasta 800 drones en una sola noche, por lo que la defensa aérea estatal, aunque efectiva, está sobrecargada.
That's why allowing the private sector to finance and operate localized systems makes it possible to protect critical facilities like power plants, factories, ports, and civilian logistics centers without diverting resources from the front. In addition, this allows for more rapid expansion of the air defense network and also encourages more innovation in this area. Returning to the attacks in the Russian rear area. During the early morning of April 28, the unmanned systems forces carried out a coordinated deep strike operation that hit 27 stationary targets and more than 20 moving targets in the enemy's rear area. The main neutralized targets were a Torm-2 air defense system in the occupied region of Zaporizhia and a Kasta-2E2 radar in the Belgorod region. Inside Mordor, an electronic warfare, an IPT base, and an electronics base. The occupied area of Zaporizhia, which included a unit of drone operators and a workshop for the production and assembly of drones, electronic warfare systems, and unmanned ground vehicles. An ammunition depot attacked by the Kairos Battalion of the 414th Brigade was also demilitarized, as well as command posts and other logistical assets in the regions of Zaporizhia and Donetsk. The defenders were particularly happy about the destruction of the Kasta-2E radar station, which is a Russian radar system capable of detecting and tracking up to 200 targets within a radius of 150 kilometers, including aerial targets at very low altitudes. This system functions as the eyes of the Russian air defense, allowing for early detection of aircraft, missiles, and even drones, thus acting as an early warning system. The operation was coordinated by the Deep Strike Center of the USF. It involved the participation of several brigades and regiments of unmanned systems. Meanwhile, an airplane passenger shows us how the fire at the Doab's refinery continues. SEP-SBB won't be working for a while. To finish, here we see a mobile air defense group shooting down a Russian Shahed kamikaze drone using a 12.7mm M2 HB heavy machine gun. Great job, guys! Hello, friends? The crews of the Mi-24s in the Defender's Army Aviation are getting ready for another busy day of work on the front lines. Living up to their motto, "We fly where we are needed," it's clear that even in the worst conditions, they will go wherever their comrades need support, supplies, or medical evacuation. The conditions they have to face are extremely challenging due to the wear and tear on their machines after 4 years of war. Still, aviation is there day after day, pushing back the invader. A reconnaissance Mosquito from the 58th Brigade identified a team of observation drone operators from the Horde operating in the village of Jelinsky, Donetsk Oblast, so it began to follow them as they returned to the house where they had their base of operations. They used this house for headquarters, supplies, and workshops. With the coordinates already established and confirmed, the operators requested an express visit from a precision rocket, which was launched by an M142 HIMARS, ruining the evening for the entire invasion platoon. The HIMARS made a direct hit on the entire Ruskamir. The Ukrainian Security Service proudly reported that its Alpha Special Operations Center has been ranked #1 among all subunits of Ukraine's defense forces for the number of enemy targets successfully neutralized using Mosquitoes during the month of March 2026. In a month of intense fighting, Alpha operators carried out suppressive attacks, decisive strikes that eliminated more than 10,200 Russian infantry soldiers and recorded 7,346 additional hits on critical targets. These included 2,218 enemy drones, 90 artillery systems, numerous armored vehicles, trucks, and fortified positions, demonstrating the devastating impact of the innovative tactics they have developed and are applying on the battlefield. According to the unit, these remarkable results are due to the round-the-clock work of their operators, who combine their skills as special forces operators with technological innovation, constantly working to inflict maximum damage on the invader, and soon they will begin sharing their tactics with the rest of their colleagues in the defending forces. Mosquito Airlines announces the opening of its new attack route to the Perm Refinery, more than 1,500 kilometers from the front lines. There have already been 3 days of non-stop raids on this facility, which apparently is going to join the Tuapse one in the category of In a new wave of attacks, the drones not only targeted the pumping and distribution station, but now the objective also seems to be the nearby Lukoil refinery in Perm, which is one of the largest in Russia, with the capacity to process about 13 million tons of crude oil per year, producing gasoline, diesel, and aviation fuel. According to the SBU, the drones hit the AVT-4 primary oil processing unit, causing fires in the atmospheric and vacuum distillation columns. This would have put the plant out of service. Wave to the refinery kilometers Combat Refinery is producing. The new wave is producing Wave the refinery of 1,500 kilometers, AVI each year. Enjoy it. Speaking of Tuapse, a local resident shared footage of the improvements that the Ukrainian Mosquitoes caused to the local refinery. One even hit the building where the plant's control center was located. In any case, I think there's still room for another visit, since in the end you can see 2 relatively intact tanks. Now, the damage is quite extensive, and I would say it already falls into the catastrophic category. As shown by this footage captured by a firefighter riding through the facilities on his truck, you can see that oil has spilled throughout the entire site. I hope this firefighter hurries up with his work, because while I'm preparing this report, Z-Mill bloggers are reporting that another wave of drones is approaching Tuapse. They may not be flamingos, but it's very nice to see how the Mosquitoes continue to migrate in large swarms deep into the Horde's territory. Tomorrow we'll surely see the results of their visit to Mordor. On April 27, the commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Robert Magyar Brovdy, gave an interview to the BBC in which he stated that they carry out daily precision strikes at distances between 1,500 and 2,000 kilometers inside Russian territory. So the horde's deep rear is no longer peaceful, and that their freedom-loving birds fly there whenever and wherever they want. Some mosquitoes are brought down by air defense, but others cause very significant damage to the military-industrial complex, to critical infrastructure, plants essential for the war effort, as well as to Army Z facilities. He also announced that these attacks will intensify with an emphasis on oil infrastructure, which are considered legitimate military targets because they finance the invasion, and also against the personnel of the horde, since their units have direct orders to eliminate more Russian soldiers to surpass the number that Mordor can recruit. The objective presented has been fulfilled over the last few months. And we are already seeing the results of that promise. Why the General Staff of the Armed Forces at the border of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. On May 1st, it was confirmed that units of the Unmanned Systems Forces successfully attacked high-value Russian combat aircraft at the Shogol military airfield in the Russian region of Chelyabinsk on April 25, 2026. In this raid, two fifth-generation Sukhoi Su-57 Felon stealth fighters and a Sukhoi Su-34 fullback fighter bomber were reportedly destroyed. This airfield is approximately 1,700 kilometers from the Ukrainian border in the heart of the Urals region and had already been attacked by special forces teams. However, the fact that now the drones are not only able to reach this base deep in the Russian rear, but also evade the horde's air defense network to precisely strike fighter jets is truly an impressive demonstration of capabilities. The satellite images published by Excelenova reveal clear signs of activity in the aircraft parking areas, including debris, shrapnel impact patterns, emergency response vehicles clustered around the former positions of the planes, and the absence of the Su-57 and Su-34. These movements are consistent with post-attack damage control and recovery operations. The Su-57, Russia's most advanced stealth fighter and the cornerstone of its supposed air superiority, exists in very limited numbers, as it is believed that fewer than 30 units are actually operational. Each of these aircraft represents a huge investment in technology and resources, so damaging several of them, even on the ground, inflicts strategic costs. Supposed air superiority, limited numbers. Stealth, limited, of supposed superiority, exists. The Su-57, the most advanced stealth fighter. Suppose the aircraft stationed there. Chelyabinsk is an important Russian defense industrial city, home to tank production and other heavy defense industries. The Shogol airfield serves as a base for aircraft operating in the region and as a training and maintenance center. A Ukrainian drone attack that hit that location indicates that Russian aviation assets deployed at what Moscow likely considered safe rear bases are no longer out of reach of the defenders. If you want to see additional content about the war in Ukraine, I invite you to visit our Chelyabinsk airfield. The city of Chelyabinsk is a great place to visit. The airfield is a great place to visit. Visit them. Remember to visit our Patreon, where for just $1, you'll have access to a large number of uncensored videos and documentaries. Lastly, visit our store, where you can find items inspired by some of Ukraine's most outstanding units. Carry history with you, and with every purchase, you'll be supporting the United 24 program, which directly supports reconstruction programs, helps the civilian population, and defense. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel.